Hey everyone, it's Snowflarky here today, and I'm here to talk about my Chaos Daedalus lightsworn deck profile. Now this is a very casual, just fun pick up and play deck I have on me most of the time in order to play the new Chaos Daedalus. This deck ended up being built because I ended up getting some cool pulls from a Toon Chaos box that we bought, one of which included, the Chaos Daedalus and of course the Chaos Creator, just some of the new Chaos stuff that came in it. And for a little historical lesson about me, Daedalus is one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monsters of all time. Been a big fan of it, the C version, Light Ray version, Metaphys, whichever version of Daedalus. I always think it looks cool, very sick looking monster. So when we got two of these Chaos Daedalus, I said, well, now I have to make it work. So, combining it with Lightsworns and other, general chaos strategies allowed me to kind of make this deck. Now, just as a disclaimer, this is not in any way an attempt at making a competitive chaos deck. I don't really have the extra deck investment or, a lot of other necessary powerful cards that you would see in a chaos build that's trying to be the most effective. You probably wouldn't even play Chaos Daedalus at all. So just note that if you're looking for a competitive chaos profile, you definitely want to look elsewhere. This is more of a fun, pure version for playing on the playground. So just wanted to get that out there before we go in. But with that said, let's talk about what I am playing. We'll start by going over the Chaos monsters in the deck. First, I am playing two copies of Chaos Daedalus, the namesake of my build. Another one of the large Chaos boss monster payoffs. Like most Chaos monsters, it requires a light and a dark to be banished from the grave in order to summon it. And essentially, when Chaos Daedalus is on the field, if there's a face-up field spell, your opponent cannot target light or dark monsters you control with card effects, so some targeting protection is pretty cool. And of course, you can target cards on the field up to the number of face-up field spells on the field and banish them. So if you have a field spell, you can banish one. Even if your opponent just has a field spell, you can banish one. And of course, if you both have field spells, you can banish two. Uh, you know, 2 cards per turn. And of course, Chaos Daedalus can still attack after that. You can only use that effect once per turn. So with that in mind, that's the main reason we're playing two, because we can't really stack Chaos Daedalus effects, and once one's on board, we don't really need the other. But I am playing two because I definitely want to see it. It's what I built the deck for. So very happy to have two Chaos Daedalus. Pretty cool card. Very awesome. I'll use in the field spell. Very reminiscent of the classic Levia Dragon Daedalus. Next up, I'm playing one copy of the Chaos Creator. So another Chaos Boss monster, special summoned by banishing a light and a dark monster from the grave. And then of course, if you control this card that was special summoned from the hand, you can target 3 banished monsters with different names and special summon one of them, then place the rest of them on the bottom of the deck in any order that you like. So, Chaos Creator, 2,300 attack, gets you another body on board, something that you've already banished for another Chaos summon. So, good way to swarm the field, get back some large monsters or some needed materials to further out your plays. It's a very cool card, and was very happy to pull it and get this deck moving. Next, I am playing 2 copies of Chaos Dragon Legionnaire. Definitely the Chaos powerhouse. When you look at normal Chaos lists, you'll see this card being very important. It's a 3,000 attack dragon. Now this one you have to special summon by banishing 3 of either lights or darks, or any combination of light and dark, as long as it's just 3 monsters that are either light or dark. And you're going to get a different on summon effect based on which ones you do. If it's only light, you special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense. If it's only dark, you shuffle a random card from your opponent's hand into the deck. And if it's a mix of light and dark, you destroy up to 2 cards on the field. So all 3 of those are very powerful effects, and then you get a 3,000 attack dragon on top of it. which is pretty notable, pretty powerful. You could swarm a lot of these and get that attack power into OTK, destroy cards to clear the way, and that's a lot of how this deck plays, is to clear things out, summon a whole lot of monsters in one turn, and OTK. So Chaos Dragon, very cool card to have. Definitely worth running 3 in more optimal builds sometimes, but I'm just choosing to play the 2. Next, I'm playing 1 copy of the Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. This card did get eroded a while back, so it's not as great as the Chaos Emperor Dragon of old, but being, it's still a free summon 3000 attack body, and it does make a pretty interesting top deck card to have in a top deck scenario, and for that, that's enough reason for me to play 1, especially because I have this beautiful secret rare Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End, that has been sitting in my collection. Glad to have a reason to play it. So essentially, if you haven't activated any other effects on the turn, you want to use this card's effect. You can use the card's effect, which is to send all cards on both players' field and in their hands to the graveyard. And of course, your opponent will take 300 life point damage for each one done so. So it can be a finisher, or it could just be an extra 3000 attack body, but it's very cool, very fun to be able to summon Chaos Emperor Dragon. Very exciting to get its effect off too. Next, playing a copy of Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, another classic Chaos boss payoff. Requires the light and dark, of course, to be banished to summon it, and then, of course, during your turn, you can either target a monster on the field and banish it instead of attacking, or you can activate the effect that when Chaos Blackluster Soldier destroys a monster by battle, it can make a second attack. Very cool. That extra attack can clear boards, banish and get rid of stuff. It's 3000, it's high attack, it's Blackluster Soldier. It's pretty cool. And as far as the Chaos boss monsters goes, it's our first one that's actually a light, which is pretty nice. We need a mix of light and darks in this deck to facilitate it moving. Alright, and of course, next up, I am playing 3 copies of Chaos Valkyrie. Now, this is a 4-star Chaos monster with 1800 attack, so not as strong as the normal ones, but it only requires banishing either a light or a dark from the graveyard in order to summon it. And of course, it serves as an 1800 body, a 4-star for extra deck plays, comes in handy a lot. And of course, if this card is banished, you can send a light or dark monster from your deck to the graveyard, but for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name. So use this to, you can use that effect to load your graveyard with either a light or dark, whichever one you need for your next summon, your next play, or of course if you're wanting to get something specific into the graveyard so that you can grab it on a future turn, certainly helps out a lot there. And extra swarming power, extra deck plays, very happy to have Chaos Valkyrie. So that's our Chaos boss monsters. Definitely consider throwing more in, but they can get a little bricky, so I'm always playing around with that ratio. This isn't a deck I spend a ton of time with since it's just a super casual build. So I'm always fine-tuning it, but that is moving us on to our next section. To help facilitate the Chaos plan, I am playing lots of lightsworn cards. To start off, I have a singular copy of Judgment Dragon, the lightsworn boss monster that requires 4 different lightsworn names in order for you to special summon it from your hand. Of course, 3000 attack, and you get the effect of paying 1000 life points to destroy, all other cards on the field except Judgment Dragon. So, big board clear that, you can get off and then summon more afterwards to OTK. And what's cool about Judgment Dragon is some of the new Chaos support that came out in Toon Chaos actually lets you search this pretty easily as well. So, it's nice to have. You can get, use that to search Judgment Dragon when you're looking for it. And we play enough Lightsworns that, summoning Judgment Dragon isn't that hard. It's pretty easy to get 4 different names in the grave. So, figured I might as well throw 1 copy in there. Next up, I am playing 3 copies of Lumina, Lightsworn Summoner. This is the Lightsworn that gets a lot of things moving. It's a 3-star Lightsworn monster that once per turn you can discard 1 card and then target 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard to special summon that target. Pretty cool. Get you whichever Lightsworn you need. You do need to have a Lightsworn in the grave already to activate that effect, but if you do, and you say discard a Lightsworn monster, there is nothing that stops you from selecting the monster you just discarded and summoning it. You just need to make sure there's one in the graveyard beforehand so that you can legally activate the effect and pay that cost of discarding. And then, of course, if Lumina stays on the field, which doesn't tend to happen, we either synchro it away or, link it away. We can, of course, you mill the 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard, which is pretty fine. We want to load monsters in our graveyard, so we got fodder for the chaos. So, all those Lightsworn mill effects, it's why Lightsworns work really well with it. So we are playing 3 Lumina. Next, I'm also playing 3 copies of Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn, 1700 attack warrior tuner. Tuner is pretty important because we can make synchro plays like Michael. And of course, during your main phase, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and if any Lightsworn monsters were sent, this card gains 200 attack for each. So, able to send more cards from the deck to the grave. We want to mill some things, load our graveyard up, and, for that reason, Raiden is pretty good. Level 4 lets us make lots of extra deck plays. Very nice to have. Raiden keeps things going. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Wolf, Lightsworn Beast, 2100 attack, 4-star monster, so pretty hefty body for a 4-star monster. And of course, you can't normal summon it, but it's special summoned, by a card effect and can't be special summoned by other ways, but it has the ability that if this card was sent from your deck to the graveyard, you special summon it. So if you mill it, Wolf hits the field. Pretty standard stuff. You can either use its 2100 attack body to push for an OTK if the field is open, or its level 4 and just free presence to make an extra deck monster to further things up. And, for that reason, I want to see Wolf. Wolf can be a bit bricky, but, there's plenty of ways to get a bricked Wolf out of your hand. Next, playing 1 copy of Felis, Lightsworn Archer. This one's like Wolf. It's a 4-star that can only be special summoned from a card effect, and of course, if it's sent from your deck to the graveyard by a monster effect, you can special summon it, which is pretty cool. Now, it doesn't have the attack, but it does have an ability where you contribute this card to target 1 monster your opponent controls. Destroy that target, then you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So destroy a monster, get more mills, level 4 monster, free summon, all good stuff that we want to see. Next, playing 1 copy of Minerva, Lightsworn Maiden. This is a level 3 tuner Lightsworn, mostly just played for a different unique name. Because we need different named Lightsworn so we can summon Judgment Dragon. And of course, Maiden has the great ability where if it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can send a card from the top of your deck to the graveyard. So just an additional mill. We like that. And we want to do that. Next, playing a couple of the Twilight Sworns. What's interesting about the Twilight Sworns is that they count as Lightsworn names for Judgment Dragon, and they're, of course, dark monsters, which gives us more darks that we can throw in our graveyard. And, that's, we have less darks because most of the boss monsters are dark and a lot less of the little monsters are dark, so we want to get darks wherever we can. So the Twilight Sworns are pretty good ways to do that. First off, we have Raiko, the Twilight Sworn Fighter. If this card is normal or flipped face up, you can banish 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard and then banish 1 card on the field. So pretty cool. Banish effect, not bad. And then, of course, once per turn, if your other Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So more ways to mill, free way to banish, unique name for Judgment Dragon, and a dark monster for Chaos Fodder. And next up, we have one copy of Jane, Lightsworn General. Once per turn, you can banish one Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard, and then target one face-up monster on the field. It loses attack and defense equal to the banished monster's level times 300. You won't use that effect too much, mostly just in here for 4 stars, 1800 body that you can summon. It of course also has the effect that if your other Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. But, you know, another name for Judgment Dragon, and then of course the last name, Lila, the Twilight Sworn Enchantress. So once per turn, when a spell or trap or effect is activated, and this is a quick effect, you can banish one Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard, then target one face-up spell or trap on the field and destroy it. And then, of course, if your other Lightsworn activates its effect, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So, you know, another free body, kind of cool effect that we can use, unique name, and that's why we play it. So now moving off from the Lightsworns, I'm just playing a couple dangers that I have on hand. One copy of Danger Nessie, one copy of Danger Chupacabra, and of course one copy of Danger Bigfoot. So the danger monsters, as many you know, are ones that you can reveal and then discard. You know, you reveal them in your hand, then your opponent selects a random card from your hand, and that card is discarded. You know, if the danger monster is the one that's discarded, you get an effect from it. And of course, if not, you know, you summon it and you draw a card. So kind of the reasons to play this one, Nessie when it's summoned can get you another danger out the deck, so that's another material summoned for free. Bigfoot is a big 3000 attack monster, so that helps push OTKs and do a lot of damage. We like that. Chupacabra, I would definitely have this a Jackalope if I have it, but I only have this one at mine, so it's just mainly another name. It's 4 stars, so we can make use of that and whatnot. But the dangers just get extra darks in the grave, get your deck moving along a little farther. So I play a couple copies of them to help out. And that is actually it for the monster lineup. Next, we are moving into our spell cards. I'm going to start by playing 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. Definitely a lifeblood of a Lightsworn deck. You send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then you add a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from your deck to your hand. So, you know, that gets you whichever Lightsworn you're looking for at the right time. If you need a Raiden, if you need a Lumina, whichever one, and it sends cards from your deck to the graveyard, you know, fill that graveyard up with fodder. We definitely want to see it. So, Charge of the Light Brigade is a must at 3. Next, playing 3 copies of Solar Recharge. Also a good way to keep the deck moving. You discard a Lightsworn monster to draw 2 cards and then send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So, you know, cycle cards, and of course you send cards from the deck to your graveyard. That fuels your Chaos plays, your Lightsworn plays. You know, you want stuff in the graveyard, so Solar Recharge gets it there. Next, playing 3 copies of Chaos Space. This is one of the cool new support cards that came out in Toon Chaos. Essentially, you send a light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard to add a light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set, which is usually one of your big Chaos boss monster pays-offs, from your deck to your hand with a level from 4 to 8. And with a different attribute than the monster you send. So if you send a light, you add a dark. If you send a dark, you add a light. And of course, it's got to be 4 to 8. So, you know, it is the Chaos monsters. You can also grab Judgment Dragon, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one of your banished light or dark monsters, and that cannot be normal summoned or set. Place that monster on the bottom of the deck and then draw one card. So, you know, recycles a Chaos boss monster that you banish to special summon another Chaos. Another reason why I don't have necessarily more Chaos boss monsters than I already do, because I can recycle them later. Draw a card, cycles, moves things. Very good for a Chaos deck, Chaos space. Awesome card. Next up, this is a very clowny choice, but a field spell is necessary for Chaos Daedalus' effect. And so I decided, since this is kind of a fun thing, I am playing 3 copies of Dark Sanctuary. I wasn't finding myself having too many field spells that I could just slot in here and make use of. You know, I could play Seal of Orichalcos for extra, but then I can't access the extra deck, and it destroys everything that's special summoned right out the gate. The lightsworn field spell is not so good. Chaos Zone is like, who cares? So I just thought I'd have fun and play Dark Sanctuary. You know, it has all this Destiny board synergy that doesn't matter. Essentially, the only effect on Dark Sanctuary that applies to this deck is that while Dark Sanctuary is face up on your field, well, first off, it counts as a field spell for Chaos Daedalus. Pretty cool. And, of course, when Dark Sanctuary is face up, every time your opponent declares an attack, you flip a coin, and if it's heads, their attack is negated and they take life point damage equal to half the monster's attack. So a little extra burn effect, can stall. It's a very fun, wacky card. You know, it's you can get a lot of damage, and sometimes you're just short. So Dark Sanctuary can be really threatening because any failed Dark Sanctuary flip for your opponent can finish them off. So definitely a fun, wacky card. This card is completely replaceable. Like I said, if you're playing a good Chaos deck, you're probably not going to be playing Chaos Daedalus, and it's going to be playing field spells. If you want to play Chaos Daedalus, feel free to any field spell you can justify any BS reason for throwing in. Go for it. So I am playing 3 copies of Dark Sanctuary. Of course, you know, you could play less and a copy of Terraforming, but with the milling aspect, I don't know. I just like having the card, so I make sure I have the field spell, and that Terraforming isn't the one that's left. And then last for the spells, and last for the main deck, Foolish Burial. You know, a lighter dark, get what you need. You can send Wolf, summon it for free. You want things in the graveyard, so it's very easy to justify why you would want Foolish Burial. And that is it for the main deck. Alright, next I'll talk about what I am playing in the extra deck. Just as a disclaimer, as I said, this is a very casual, just pick up playground style Chaos deck, so I have not invested in the optimal extra deck cards that a Chaos deck would play. If you want to see an optimal extra deck, you can find videos of that elsewhere on YouTube in more competitively viable, possibly, Chaos decks. But I do have a collection of things I play, mostly a lot of rank 4s with all the 4s I have. In general, I just don't have a lot of super fleshed out extra decks in a lot of these casual decks, because my decks I play at locals and tournaments and whatnot are all stun decks that don't really go into their extra deck very often. Just my usual preferred style of play. But with that said, we'll go into what I do have and am playing. Starting off with kind of the most relevant stuff, I am playing 1 copy of Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn. Minerva is a pretty sick rank 4 XZ that the Lightsworn's deck likes a lot. You can detach a monster from this card to send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then draw cards equal to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the graveyard by this effect. So it draws you cards, it fills up your graveyard, definitely something we like. And then of course when this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then you can destroy cards up to the number of Lightsworn cards that were sent by this effect. So pretty cool. You know, draws you cards, mills you cards, can even destroy stuff when it's been destroyed. Minerva is usually the go-to, keeps the deck going and moving even further, and very important to have that kind of extender. So we like having our copy of Minerva. Next up, I'm playing 2 copies of Michael, the Arc lightsworn. This is the lightsworn synchro monster, normally made through a Lumina and Raiden, which is pretty easy to get that combo on the field. And of course, once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to target one card on the field and banish it. So, 1,000 life points, banish a key card, pretty cool. Gets around destruction effects. It is targeting, which it doesn't make it that strong. But, and then of course, when this card is destroyed, you can target any number of other lightsworn monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into your deck, and if you do, gain 300 life points for each. So, you can deck out in these kind of decks quite easily, because you'll be milling a lot of cards. So getting some in, getting some life points, that comes in handy, And then of course, during the end phase, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So got a typical lightsworn mill. Still pretty cool card. Definitely something to have access in, and something that I can make pretty easily. Next up, a lot of what I'm playing are just rank 4s. There's lots of ways to make rank 4s in this deck. Lots of level 4s for fodder. So starting with ones that I would say are actually relevant and come up, talking about Baguska here, the Terribly Tired Tapir. Of course, what you do with Baguska is that if you have 2 level 4s, you can summon Baguska in defense, and then Baguska switches everything to defense, and defense monsters cannot activate their effects. So basically kind of becomes like a 2-turn skill drain because, nothing can activate its effects, and Baguska during your turn, you have to detach a material or else Baguska is destroyed. So, with 2 materials, that means you get 2 turns of Baguska stalling. Sometimes you need a little more. You need to draw another card or 2. You don't want your opponent to get that far. So Baguska can be quite annoying if they can't deal with it and give you that extra time. Of course, you could use it in attack position and it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And they can't target it for attacks, but usually that defense mode effect is way more useful. So you want to stall for 2 turns, we go into Baguska. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is one of the best rank 4 XEs in the game. You detach a material and your opponent can't use graveyard effects that turn. And of course it's a quick effect, so you can do that during either turn. And that's pretty nice to have. We want to stop graveyard effects. Graveyard is, a second resource in Yu-Gi-Oh! So we definitely want to be doing that. And, they'll want to get rid of your Abyss Dweller. So I actually play 2 because there's been a number of times where I'm just like, man, I could use Abyss Dweller again after my first one gets removed. And so I play 2. Pretty good card. Stop graveyard effects. Right matchups. That wins the game. Next up, we are playing a copy of Tornado Dragon, 2 level 4s, and of course, quick effects, detach a material to destroy a spell or trap card on the field, get rid of pesky, annoying some back row, answer field spells that search things, 10 keys, whichever the heck you want to get rid of, Tornado Dragon does it. And of course, next is Sky Blaster, good old Castell, 2 level 4s, and you detach both materials to target a card on the field and shuffle it into the deck. Very cool. Remove something that's not by destroying. And of course, after that, the XEs I have are less relevant, but they come up in some niche matchups that I am up against when I play my local dueling group. One of which being Steel Swarm Roach. Requires 2 level 4s, and during either player's turn, when a level 5 or higher monster would be special summoned, you can detach 1 material from this card to negate the summon and destroy the card. So, there are certain matchups where this card is pretty good, and I fight some decks, like Light Rays and whatnot that this comes in handy against in my dueling group. So Steel Swarm Roach, pretty good. Definitely a card to look into if you are someone who has to go up against decks that are special summoning level 5 or higher monsters. Next, 1 copy of Heartland Draco, 2 level 4s, and of course while you control a face-up spell card, This card cannot be targeted for attacks, which is pretty cool, but namely you play Heartland Draco because you can detach a material and then this card can attack directly, nothing else you can attack. So if your opponent's got 2,000 or less life points and they got some monsters you can't get around, if you can get into Heartland Draco and they can't just stop Heartland Draco from attacking, you know, jump over that monster, poke directly, extra 2,000, finish the game. Next, one copy of Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. 2 level 4 monsters are required, and you detach both materials to target a face-up monster on the field. It loses half its attack, and this card gains half its attack. So, you know, cut down a really big monster's attack power, give Dark Rebellion a larger attack, making it, you know, quite a large monster to hit over. Maybe adds in a lot of extra damage to finish off the game. So I like having it handy. Next up, one copy of Gaga Cowboy. It requires 2 level 4s. You summon it in defense, you detach 1, and it burns for 800. So if your opponent, you know, if you're just 800 short of an OTK, but you got the materials to make Gaga Cowboy, it now is an OTK. Very cool card. Next, one copy of Ragna Zero, 2 level 4s, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you detach Xyz material to target a monster on the field that's in attack position and whose attack is different than its original attack, and then you destroy that card and draw 1 card. So, you know, certain matchups where things are manipulating their attacks, Ragna Zero can destroy it, and of course get you another card, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, I am playing 1 copy of Hope Harbinger, Dragon Titanic Galaxy. Lots of level 8 monsters in this deck, big level 8 monsters that we have, and 2 level 8s can make Hope Harbinger, which gives you the ability to negate a spell card once per turn. And that's awesome, you know, negating a spell. Spells are pretty important, so you negate a crucial spell. Sometimes you can just end a whole turn, and your opponent has to play around it. Very annoying. So there are cases where we can summon it. And then last, I'm just playing 1 copy of Saruja Skulldread. You know, you can get a lot of monsters on the field, so it's very possible to summon this card with a bunch of different names. And of course, when you get 4 names, you get to use all its effects. Pretty cool, especially the one where you draw 4 cards and then you put 3 back on your deck. You know, you can stack your hand, cycle through a little further. And so, you know, very fringe, doesn't come up too often, but Skulldread does lots of good work. So that is my profile for my Chaos Daedalus Lightsworn deck profile. Very fun deck, very fun way to use Daedalus, a cool, iconic Dual Monsters era monster in a new way used with Chaos cards. But this is a super casual playground play only build, you know, not very viable in any kind of serious capacity. There's a lot more that Chaos can do. I highly recommend if you like Chaos a lot and we're looking for a competitive deck profile, keep looking, you'll find it. They're out there. There's lots of powerful plays that Chaos can make. But this is just a fun way for me to be able to play this Chaos Daedalus, and there will definitely be work going into this deck, so you will see updates if I decide to optimize it. But figured I should share it anyway, give Chaos Daedalus some love, and I know there's love out there for super silly low power casual decks like this, which, you know, I have a lot of, but it's good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your favorite Chaos monster is. My award definitely goes to Daedalus here. You know, let me know if you like playing Chaos, what you like to do with it. Be very cool. And you know, you'll see more from this Lightsworn core probably later, because the original reason I built it is for a silent deck that I've always had. But I will share that at another time. That is it for me today. You all take care. I'll catch you next time.